Equal grouping of amounts and arrays are two ways of using multiplication. Understanding these two different methods are key to understanding math. Use this video and follow the directions. Make copies of equal groupings and arrays on your own using beans, and see if you can write the multiplication problem and come up with the correct products. Keep practicing this over and over with different arrangements. So Mr. Bunninger has asked that everyone has some beans at home. Now, this is my Play-Doh container, and I keep some magic beans in there. Now, these are magic beans because there's red on one side and kind of a green on the other side. So you can see that's green and that's red. So for multiplication, we aren't going to use the red and green side. That's for addition and subtraction. We're just going to use the beans in general. So how can we use beans in multiplication? That's what we're going to start doing. I've seen that we can group beans in groups of 2, which is like our skip counting. Okay. So here's a group of 2, here's a group of 2, here's a group of 2, and here's a group of 2. And this is like saying 2, 4, 6, 8 in our skip counting. And this is exactly what we do when we're skip counting by 2. We can also do it with 5s. 5 is another easy number to do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 5. And there's 5. And there's 5. So here's 1, 2, 3. So if we were skip counting by 5s, we would say 5, 10, 15. And if you were to count these beans, you would find out that yes, if we take all these beans collectively down here and put them all together, we would have 15. That's the magic of multiplication. We don't have to count in multiplication anymore. Now this is called concrete thinking. In other words, we can see the objects that we're counting. So concrete thinking is an easier way to imagine how to use mathematics, is we make like a model. And these are a specific model because we have this specific amount, and we've grouped these by 2 and we grouped these by 5. So that's one way I want you to use your beans. But you can see if we get into larger numbers, we have to go more abstract. Like the number 10. I don't want to count out 10 beans because that's way too many. I want something a little bit simpler than having to count. So I'm going to take a group right here, and instead of putting beans in there, instead of using beans, I'm going to set the beans aside and I'm going to put the number 10. Now this number 10 means there's 10 beans in this circle. Without me having to get the beans, there's 10 beans in this circle. I can make another circle and say, okay, well, I'm going to put 10 beans in this circle and 10 beans in this circle. You see how much quicker I can put beans in circles when I just use the number? I'm not actually using the beans. And I'm going to put 10 beans in this circle. Now when I skip down to count down here, I really don't even have any beans I can count anymore. I really have to use my multiplication up here. I have to use my multiplication. So this is skip counting by 10. So this is 10, 20, 30, 40. So that's why we use numbers instead of beans, so we can think of large numbers quicker and we can organize our math a lot simpler. Go ahead and stop the video and make a copy of this. And I want you to count out your beans and do a concrete example of your beans and do an abstract example of your beans as well. And then pause the video if you need to. The next one, we're going to organize our beans in a little bit different way. This way of organizing our beans is not called equal groupings, it's called array. Can you say array? And we've seen this before, this pattern here of squares. And we're going to put one bean in each square. Again, the colors don't matter. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just going to start out with 4 there. And then I'm going to put some more here. Now you can see the numbers getting large again, huh? I want you to organize your beans on a piece of paper. Graph paper makes a really easy arrangement. Let's see. Instead of doing this, let's do this. I'm going to organize our beans this time on some graph paper that looks like this. And I'm going to, let's put, and I want you to follow me. Let's get your beans out. Here's another way of organizing our beans. Instead of equal groups, we can actually put them in rows. Rows go this way, so these are rows. Whoop, that one's not writing for me. Let me see if I got another one. So these are rows right here. So these are 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have 4 rows here. These are columns. And columns go this way. Okay? And I have 2 columns there. Now you can kind of see that we can already start skip counting here. 2, 4, 6, 8. So we have 8 beans, except we didn't group them by 2s. We put them in rows that go this way, and we put them in columns that go this way. Now, using multiplication, we can say, instead of me counting each one of these beans, I can multiply these 2 numbers together. Okay? And we're going to multiply them in a way that we're going to multiply this group times that group times that group times that group. So how many groups do I have? Do I have 2 groups or do I have 4 groups? If you said 4, you're right. So this is going to be, the equation is going to look like this. It's going to be 4 times, and how many are in each group? If you said 2, you're correct. So this is how we write the equation for this array. Now we grouped them by 2s, and we had 4 groups. So that's important that the 4 comes first. That's how many groups there are. And there's 2 in each one of these. And if you know your multiplication, you could say 4 times 2 is 8. Now you've just started to learn your 4 multiplications. Now this is not 2 times 4, this is 4 times 2, but this number over here, which we call the product, this number right here is called the product. Even though the product is the same, okay, even though the product is the same, as if we multiplied 2 times 4, this arrangement, this model over here, is 4 times 2. We have 2 4 times. 1 times 2, 2 times 2, 3 times 2, 4 times 2. So I'd like you to copy this down and make an arrangement of beans in an array. Okay. We aren't going to do equal groupings. We did equal groupings in the first video. This one's going to be an array. And come up with arrays that you can use for multiplication, and come up with the answer, the product of that, and see how well you can do that. You can use graph paper like this, which makes it a little bit easier. Or you can use just regular paper. It's a little bit easier on graph paper to get your columns and your rows in nice arrays. Sometimes when you start using regular paper, it gets a little messy. So make sure you get some graph paper from the store to help you with making your arrays.